Hello, good morning. Back with a new video. This is kind of on request. We are going from Utrecht to Amersfoort using a new, what they call a bicycle highway, which I kind of disagree with, and I will show you why. Called the F28. So it's basically they have worked. I think they have identified. That's probably a good way to say it. They have identified places where lots of commuters go from place A to B, and that there are problems, and they try to fix them, and they, I guess, combine them in a plan. In this case, called the F28, which is between two cities in the Netherlands. It's going to be about an hour 10 drive, and yeah, I think it has mixed results, to be fair, but I will take you along. Like always, we will. Well, let me first give you some hints. If you're really interested in the highway, and I'm using air quotes, it starts at about 20 minutes, as far as I can see, and you could probably also see why I think it has mixed results, considering our bicycle infrastructure. Before then, we are crossing quite a few interesting points, but we are starting off in LeidscheRijn again. And I'm going through the city center and actually hitting a few, let's say, well-known spots in Utrecht. And I will, after about 10 or 15 minutes when we are there, that's kind of the starting point where a commuter ride could begin. For example, from the Utrecht Central Station, just as an example. Although Amersfoort also has a really good train station. Actually, that would probably be the quickest way. I didn't Google it, I should have. What is the quickest way? I would not be surprised that a bicycle is quicker than public transport, and maybe also quicker than a car. So the first thing we are going to see is kind of going over the bicycle bridge, which goes over the canal and lands on top of a school. And almost like a pre-warning, what is very interesting today, in my view, is the fact that we see a lady teaching a very small kid how to go over the bridge. And if you see the down parts, that's actually, I would argue, quite scary. So I was quite impressed, and it's a good example of how parents teach their kids how to ride a bicycle, not just in the garden or in a quiet road, but in this case on quite a, I would say, interesting bicycle obstacle. The last thing I want to say is that the video is a little bit different sometimes in coloring. I did a firmware upgrade on the camera, and I think some of the settings are gone. So yeah, let's first watch, so you can see that if you're watching more of these videos, the buildings are getting quite finished also on this side. And I will slow down behind the little kid, but then past them, because I felt it would be dangerous to stay after them when we are going down. But you can see she is very young, swirling around. Of course she has a little bicycle on. The mother is protecting her in her drive. But you can see that was a very good example. And if you see me going downhill on top of the roof of the school, you see that will be an interesting way down. I was almost tempted to get off the bike and to film it, but yeah, we have to respect privacy a little bit. As you can see, she has to go down here. I'm not sure if if she would let her drive down all by herself. I think so. But that's what is part of your growing up in the Netherlands, is learning how to ride your bicycle in the city. If you've not seen this, there was when they were building this, they wanted to shave off about 2 kilometers for people going from one city part, the new city part, to the old city part. So the new part has about 50,000, and there will be about 100,000 people. And yeah, they want to shave a little piece off, so they built an extra bicycle and walking bridge but they didn't have room, so they actually integrated it into a school where the bicycle path goes over the roof of the school and then goes down, which you have seen us use a few seconds ago. I also want to be fair. I've seen 2 accidents and almost got into a small accident. So one of them happened here on this road. Somebody or a bicycle was laying on the ground and I think she was hit by a car. It didn't look that bad, but there's an ambulance there. Not sure what happened, but there was one thing. And then 2 days ago at another point, which we are not going to cross today, I think, because I'm only filming the route to Amersfoort, which will, like I said, the total riding time back and forth was about 2.5 hours. But it was in also a well-known spot for me where a racing bike hit another bicycle. Yeah, that's I talked about what is dangerous in a way, and if we really have to put them in order. Both accidents were, let's say, nobody got really hurt that bad. That's a result of the low speed. But the one with the bicycle, a racing bike and a normal bicycle was clearly the racing bike trying to go too fast and just hitting in another bicycle. Most damage to his probably expensive racing bike. And he was apologizing and stuff like that. So the accident, I wouldn't call an accident, but or maybe I should wait when we get there because we're going to pass it in a few seconds. So here you see what I mean with the colors are a bit off. At least the exposure is a little bit acting weirder than normally. So that's why sometimes the air is so bright and the other parts are a little bit too dark. I will try to fix that for the next video. So we are crossing the Munt Bridge, a well-known bicycle spot, and the Munt building where all the Dutch coins were being pressed and the euros were being pressed, which was the building on the right side. So this was kind of interesting. I always guess when I'm behind somebody if they're using the phone. You can see them sort of swirling around, and that was a good example. So I think yesterday I was almost what the Americans would call I forgot what it was called. Not door hit, there's another term for it. But somebody opened his door a little bit too quickly and I had to evade, which hasn't happened for me in a few years. Of course it was a van, so maybe I should have taken a little bit more care. Well, I think it's just called Dord, right? Being Dord. Again, let's make the video big a little bit. As you can see, we are going to pass the windmill, as we can see now in the real video. So there's one thing missing in this video, happily. I got some bicycle trouble, to be fair. It's an expensive bike, I've talked about it before. Not to brag, but just to give you some idea about the investment. This I think I'm still happy with, but the bike is about $6,000, maybe a bit more. And I did some upgrades on it, and one of them was replacing the brakes, because people in older videos were complaining, rightly so, that the brakes were really squeaky, and they're really good brakes, but they are noisy. So I replaced them with different brakes because I had to maintenance anyway. I did about 15,000 kilometers on this bike in the last 18 months. So I decided to upgrade them. And then something went wrong and they made a mistake, and the bike, basically the gearing system was all broken. And they admitted the mistake, and they could not really easily fix it, so they replaced half of my bike. So it has a new back wheel, a new gearing box, a new gearing computer, and a new tire. So it's an interesting fix, but As a result, hopefully now finally the squeaking of the brakes is gone. At least so far, knock on wood, it should be better. Which a few of you complained about in the videos. And rightly so, because it's scaring also people on bicycles when I'm going braking near traffic lights. So we do hear the new gearing motor a little bit more than the old one. The old one also had that the first, let's say 500 kilometers, so I'm assuming the sound will become less over time. So we are passing, we are now in Utrecht Central Station, and on our right we see the entrance to the big 12,500 bicycle garage. So in a way this will be very likely the begin point for many people when they are going from if they would go from Utrecht Central Station to Amersfoort Central Station. I was just checking if the video is recording correctly. It is. Yes, it is. So I'm a little bit distracted. But we are now nearing quite a famous point, because this is supposed to be the busiest bicycle path in the Netherlands and maybe the world. And you can see it's not too busy at the moment. I forgot on what kind of a day I recorded it. I think it's Sunday morning. I'm pretty sure it's Sunday morning. I think I left about 11 o'clock. I recorded a few days ago. I planned this with commute, and normally I would probably go forward, but we are going partly next to the canal, and so commute kind of put a few touristic spots in there, like us driving next to the canal. And so I'm not sure it was necessary. I think there might be a quicker way. But as I pointed out, clearly this is not part of a bicycle highway. It's perfect to ride on. I'm not saying it's bad, but we can see we are going next to the canal, which is always nice. It was clearly Sunday morning because the churches are ringing their bells. It's quite a big church. I think I've talked about it before, the Dom Church, which is almost done now, so the tower is almost done being fixed up for a few years. And that's in the middle, and the churches are in a cross, which you can see in multiple European cities. I'm not sure if it's also done in American cities, but what quite often happens is churches themselves are also laid out in a cross pattern over city. So if you're here for the F28 highway part, and again it's about in 20 minutes, so it will take still a few minutes where I feel it started. I didn't check it. I did beforehand check if my route was actually following the F28, and it was. So although some parts really don't look like it, they defined it as this is the cycle routes, which is what the F is for, 28. But like I said, it gave me mixed feelings. Which also kind of makes sense because it's going through quite a few villages. So it will more call it the integration project. In fact, if you're looking for uniform, let's say, bicycle paths or consistent bicycle paths, you're probably better off in newer villages or cities, or even the new city part we started at. There it's much more consistent, because here of course they are going to use the infrastructure which have been there for hundreds of years, and I'm guessing that even this bicycle path we are now on, if you want to call it a bicycle path, has been something like this for probably 120 years or something. They resurface it, I'm pretty sure, but they are not going to make it a modern bicycle path. So again, a little bit of a detour, and this is kind of nice because we're going to wooden area for a bit. But I wouldn't call this a bicycle highway. This is probably the worst little part on our right. Again, by Dutch standard, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure others will say, hey, this is a perfect ride. And it is, if I have to go to work in this way, it would probably be quite nice. But it's not consistent, that's what I'm saying. So we're going to part through a little park. With some water areas, as you can see. So just to remind you, because I forgot again, I will put a little bit of an overlay on this part of the video, explaining it. But if you turn your subtitles on, you of course will find chapter information in the chapters in your time bar. But if you turn subtitles on, there are two. One is called OFAR, and the other one is Bodo. You will find all the technical information, so the street where we are at, the speed at what we are going, the elevation and stuff like that. It's explained in the overlay, which I will keep on for a few minutes. Again, this is kind of interesting. You see in the high overlay, do you see the circles in there in the park? They are not UFOs coming down, but in the Netherlands during COVID, there's quite a lot of tricks to keep your distances. So these were circles that you know that you are keeping correct distance with somebody else. And since some of these Google Maps information has been made during COVID, you would see them. And I always think it's funny that we can see probably many years to come, these small hints that something has happened on a global scale for, let's say, 2 or 3 years. So we are still kind of in the city, and like I said, I don't think we are taking the perfect route or the easiest route. In general, and that is maybe also a topic that we haven't talked about, like old school, old kids, I would say, maybe 80%. I also had to go to school, my different schools, on the bicycle. Some of them were quite close. Well, actually, the first one I didn't have to go to because it was walking distance. But to put it in context, the street we had to cross was quite busy, and it was indeed in the 70s. So if you've seen some of the Dutch videos about the child murder protest, that was definitely part of it. And it was such a busy road that moms would stand on the road using signs to help kids crossing the busy road. That's not there anymore. I wouldn't say it's not needed, but it's not there anymore. So that was the first school. I could walk to the school. And the second one was by bicycle, although it was not that far. I could have walked it, would be probably about 25 minutes or something. But that was by bicycle. And the third and the fourth one, and the fifth one, I guess, these were all by bicycle. So one of them was partly at the university buildings, and I even put a video online of that, I think 2 weeks ago. Which is much bigger now, because of course this was decades ago. But riding to school is a normal thing for school kids. Oh, crossing the rail tracks. I'm sometimes watching my arm for the recording time, so the video camera has two wireless parts. One is the microphone, which is on the back of my head. Is a wireless microphone, and that connects to the camera, which is around my neck, if you've been watching this before. And the other one is a remote control, which is on my arm, almost like a watch, so that I can see if the recording is still running and how much time has passed. I was worried because I figured I could almost make it to the end, but I had some trouble in the beginning, just in my house turning it on and stuff like that. So the battery was already down, I would say about 5 or 10 minutes. And funny enough, by the end of the video, I'm missing 2 minutes. I recorded it again and I put it on the video, so don't worry about it. Because I also want to show you Amersfoort Central Station, and I was about a minute off when the recording stopped. So that's why sometimes I'm watching Oh, by the way, I think this is the starting point of the highway. And again, I have to sort of guess. But I think we just started it. So I think I can start commenting about it. I think the two dotted lines are interesting. I'm kind of taking that in the blue sometimes. I'm kind of taking that as a hint that we are on it or something, but it's inconsistent. But at least it's different. For the rest, you can see that this might be quite wide for other countries, but if you see the beginning of the video, this is actually smaller. I think it's about 5 meters, so it will be okay for, I don't know, 4 or 5 bicycles, 2 both ways, or 3 one and then one the other. Dutch people will do that. So it will probably be, I wouldn't say that's the most scary thing, but I can imagine if you're new to cycling here, if you cycle in the States, it's mostly, you're not riding next to each other. And if somebody sort of comes close, people quite quickly sort of go into a single line. Here it would be quite normal, especially for school kids, to go by 3 or 4 side to side. And here you see an example, although he's probably, or he is passing. No, they're riding together. But I'm pretty sure that they didn't put this down in the last year, if you look at the bicycle path quality. And that's what my conclusion is about this bike ride. It gave me mixed results, like they are not totally finished, and you can see that in the end, where we are going on basically a single path in a wooded area. But I also don't think it's a unified project, if that makes sense, that it is really a highway going from A to B. It's more like they probably fixed quite a few areas in between. And if you're normally if you're in the comments and you know this route, you can probably comment on that. I'm guessing that especially next to the railway, which we are going to hit up later, it's mostly about fixing that. And probably also putting lights there, so that if you're because especially during winter time, it can be quite dark in the morning when you're on a bicycle and you're going, let's say, 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. It will still be dark. So I'm guessing also the lights are an important part of fixing the infrastructure in these areas. I know this might sound a little bit, I'm not sure if it is weird, but I think especially for women, if there's no lights in some of these wooded areas, of course will be more scary. The sad news is that you have to keep track of that. I think in many ways Dutch women don't really care too much about it, at least openly. They will do it anyway, but of course, I think we just saw a sign sort of talking about this project. But it's probably part of reality that there are weirdos all over the world. And as you notice, we didn't hear the brakes so far. I think part of the reason why they do this project, and this part I would argue is about the same width as two-way bicycle paths in new city areas, but I'm guessing this is between 5 and 7 meters. But what I noticed during this ride is very flexible, so some parts are really already upgraded, some parts they will never upgrade because they are part of a city area or a village area. Here was unclear what to do, so I decided, no, I have to go here. Okay. But here you can see it already becomes smaller again. What was interesting that most of these roads are not red, so it's not a law that they have to be red. It's sort of a preferred way of doing it. But it's also not, basically every village and city can make up their own mind in many ways. I did notice on this trip we see a lot of these traffic lights with the countdown. That's probably also part of just being a newer, a part that they check. So again, this is kind of like a typical sort of Dutch bicycle path. And don't yell at me in the comments that this is really special. I have to compare it with other Dutch infrastructure. But you can see the ample lights next to it, which I think is a more important or an important part. So I'm really hoping that the brakes will stay silent. Okay, you can see here that they are still building in it. We can also maybe look at the map if something has changed here. Now you can see that the bicycle path, well, I'm not sure. Actually, this does look like a new bicycle path. Yeah. Just check to make sure. No, the bicycle path is over there, but maybe they moved it. No, this one was already there. At least when the Google Maps was made. So this project was done in 2023 and 2024. Or 22 and 23 or something like that. But clearly they are not totally finished. Of course, also in the Netherlands, because of the health crisis, things got delayed or flipped around, stuff like that. You normally don't see many arrows and on these types of bicycle paths. So there are some hints that they have been working on it. But the inconsistent nature is kind of interesting. Which you don't really see in new neighborhoods, of course, because it's kind of planned in one way and it's never been upgraded because it's just like 5 years old or 10 years old. Which of course is a sign of the way the Dutch did it, right? I mean, it's not like a massive project all over the country. It's a continuous thing based on the current design elements. So what you will see is over time, designs coming in. When the roads or the bicycle paths are being refurbished or roads are being, for other reasons, they have to redo the road or change the direction of a road. Then they will upgrade it to, let's say, the latest specs most of the time. And these guidelines, because they are not laws, these guidelines are being followed by city planners because, well, it's easy to follow what somebody else already has done. And that's the trick they've been using. But as a result, it also means that sometimes mistakes or temporary solutions stay there for quite a long time. And yesterday I was bicycling in an area which has a pothole, and you have to be careful because if you hit it, you might damage your bike. And that pothole has been there for at least the last 15 years. I almost want to send like a notice to the city, and maybe I should. Hey, isn't it about times that you fill this pothole? So basically part of the drainage system, but it's been on the bicycle path for at least 15 years. So maybe in another 5 years or 10 years, when they are resurfacing it, they will fix it. So typical 70s sort of buildings on the side, as you can see. I'm guessing what we can see in the bigger picture, this indeed also doesn't look new, right? So I think it's partly just unifying parts that are already there. Maybe putting some lines on it. Or maybe also some of these Google images are quite new. I could check the dates, but it's quite difficult in Google Earth. But I can see why they would call this bicycle commuter path or a highway, again air quotes, because it is quite consistent, and you can see that you can get good speeds on this. So we are going about 24 kilometers an hour would be my guess, but you can see it in the subtitles. And that was my conclusion of this ride. It's sort of mixed. Like this is a single path again, and then it goes to a double path, which kind of makes sense because we're going to a few smaller villages, the Bult and Soest and a few others, on our way to Amersfoort. That's one part I like about. It is in this one, not in Amsterdam or any city, or people just walking on the bike path and feeling totally relaxed. Which in this case is kind of weird because there's also a place for to walk, but I'm guessing that the old man felt that the bike path is easy to walk on because it's more flat. That would be my guess. This makes perfect sense in my mind. Might not be the smartest move. But you can see about the inconsistency, right? If this would be a really busy bicycle path in the morning, this one would be, although this is of course a bicycle path on both sides of the road, it will still, it's for me, it's kind of all over the place. But of course we are going to a village, as you can see here. So it kind of makes sense that they don't bulldoze down homes or change too much. And so there's more an integration project. I kind of like these bicycle paths with the trees in the middle. The downside is, but you don't see it here, but we talked about it before, is that the trees over time, their roots sort of destroy the bicycle paths and it becomes bumpy and they have to shave it off. So unlike in other countries, in the Netherlands, most of the bicycle, or all of the bicycle paths, what you're seeing is not the red paint. It's a special, quite thick layer of asphalt, and then again a layer of asphalt on top of it with the red stuff, which is a few centimeters thick. And one of the reasons they are doing it is on roads like this, when the trees will push the concrete or the asphalt up, they will actually shave it off. And sometimes you can see it. If I see it, I will point it out. And to flatten it again. So that means that on some of these paths, once a year, they sort of come and they put right circles around it, and then a shaving machine comes and flattens it out again and takes a small layer of it. Because they use trees quite a lot as a boundary to stop cars from parking there, but also to create the boundary between the bicycle path and the cars. But I understand that they don't do that in many other countries, especially in the United States, and they take the trees out because it might be dangerous if you hit them with a car, which is kind of counterintuitive. in a way. Because keep in mind the trees and the making smaller, visually smaller of the car roads is a way to traffic calm. And that's part of trying to make it safe. And here it becomes wide again, more like a modern structure. It's clearly Sunday morning because we see racing bikes out. Let's see if I can see how far we are in. We're about 36 minutes in, so I think normally the commute would be about 15 minutes now. Now this was a very interesting one. As you can see, there are two paths, one for each direction. So I'm guessing one of them is new. I'll make it bigger to see if that's true. If you can see that. Not here because there's too many trees. But I'm guessing that they added a bicycle path here. Probably the good question. You can see that there's too many trees, as you can see. So we have no hint if they added it later. But you don't see this often where there's two bicycle paths next to each other like this. Both in one direction, and here they unify again. But then into a smaller path. So you can see, and also different, they're using stone here, tiles. So you can see what I mean with this kind of all over the place. There are other examples of bicycle, again air quotes, highways, I'm sure. But I would also be surprised that many of them are like this because it's more upgrading parts, sometimes big parts, as you can see later on. But it's also unifying what's already there. And again, this is not the best bicycle paths I've ever been on. You can also see the drainage right over here. And these are most of the time quite a problem. I find it one of the more irritating things in the Netherlands if you're on your bicycle is the drainage that doesn't, it's either going down quicker or it doesn't go down, so it sticks out for the rest of the bicycle path. But you can see here it's quite narrow. It's totally safe, but you can imagine if you're doing, kids are going to school, that would actually be quite a dangerous object. And this is quite narrow, right? This is almost like paint on the road part of the solution. It still is the other material, by the way. So the asphalt for the road is not totally the same as the asphalt for the bicycle path, but it's clearly not, let's say, the best bicycle infrastructure. Now, I would guess that on a school day, we will still see 3 or 4, probably 3 would be my guess, white kids going to school like this and just saying, well, cars, just do your thing around me. There is, I would carefully say, it's also partly dangerous, of course, no fear among bicycle riders. They expect that cars to behave. Sometimes too much, even on a road like this. Of course, in all these videos, I'm just giving you my opinion. But unless you have a balance problem or some other issues, you would not feel unsafe on this road. You'd probably be careful when it's dark. And here we see the end of the Google Maps 3D part. So I'm not sure how good the rest of the road will be. on the Google Maps. On the real road it will be mixed, as you will see. So this is quite a long part. I think this might be new-ish or redone. And here you can see a school, right? So there's coming up. They do tell you most of the time. But this is a shared street. And again, the trick with the grey stuff, so that means that cars are guests, right? It's basically priority for the bicycles. They are not really sure about this one, so they still add the speed bumps. And they do the grey stuff in the middle. And in this case, you can see he was biking on the middle part. Because one of the tricks which they use is they, depending on how much they feel it needed, they change the grey part in either being more bumpy or not bumpy. And this was quite okay. I think you could have written on this and almost don't feel the difference between the red and the grey. But sometimes you feel it quite often. So in this case they decide to keep that quite flat, but add speed bumps. I've never made this argument, but I think you could. I think if you just, of course, the home density is much higher than most places in the world. But I would argue that we see more cars on the road parked than in most other places. So it's not that there are no cars, but we see very little cars on this road because these are not normal roads where people would drive. It is just if you want to go to your home or to your end destination, you would take this road. Otherwise you would take a different road. So that's part of the trick. And you can see that by seeing the quite high number of cars that we see. There's always a car or two cars in our visual eye line, but you don't see many cars on the road. It might take us another 10 minutes before we get passed by a car again. Of course. That was probably a normal road. That's a good example. You see, what you do see on this ride is that for most parts, the bicycle path will have the right of way, and you can see that on the shark teeth on the floor, on the road. So there's probably one thing that they changed is that they try to make the bicycle, or in this case the shared path, the priority path on both sides. Let's see if it's also on this crossing. Well, it's only one way, but yes, you can see that on that side. And again, a sign saying cars are guests. So this is a good example. Would you call this part of the bicycle superhighway or highway? Or is this, no, we see a car. Or is this part of, because this is just a shared street, right? But of course this is a perfect solution as long as the car drivers are okay with it. And I say that in the best way, that over a few decades they have learned to respect these kinds of roads. So that if kids are bicycling on the road like this, they will be 3 or 4 wide. But this again, this is a weird part, right? It was weird. Of course, I'm riding using the route planner. And you see a narrowing with bullets. They are not the soft kind. So clearly there's a reason why they put them there. And again, a different infrastructure on the bottom. And we can see that we are again in a small village. The best what I can say is that it's probably the ride that we are doing is has more variations in the bicycle infrastructure than in any other video we did so far. Would be my guess. So we are nearing the railroad, but like this, I think this is the official part, right? I'm not sort of detouring. But we are now getting close to the rail tracks, and I think that's a part that they really updated more. But also kind of in a mixed way again. It seems to be the theme of the day. A little bit of the blue again. It's interesting. So we are now in Den Dolder, which is in my mind always related to psychiatric facilities which are over here. This doesn't sound very nice, but if you're in the train, it does happen that people jump and they often came from that facility. I always wonder why these psychics or health hospitals, mental hospitals are near railroads. I guess there is a good reason for it, but in the Netherlands there are quite a few quite close to railroads. So is this new? We can probably see it, or maybe not see it. I think this has been here for a few years, so this is also not new. So I'm still kind of a bit confused which part is new. So they claim that the highway part is 21 kilometers. Again, it's not a terrible ride. I mean, it's kind of a nice chilled way to ride to work, or if you want to commute between two city parts. I'm guessing most of it is accessible to speedelec, so the bikes that can go 45 kilometers an hour when it's all done. So yeah, it would be an interesting commute. I think one thing which is interesting, and I know I'm talking quite a lot, but maybe in the future you can turn this off if YouTube starts supporting multiple audio tracks, so that we can have one with commentary and one without. But yeah, I can totally see one of the difference would be if, let's say I would use this as a commute. I think this will be the most stable in time, especially with an e-bike. Where if you're tired you still go about the same speed, there's more consistency there. I would argue that this ride will probably only variate about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes from center to center. So you would always have a stable time, in this case probably like, I don't know, a little over an hour would be my guess. While if you go by public transport, it will probably be a much bigger variation in time, just because you have to be lucky. Like, for example, it's now summertime, so there's less buses on some tracks because the schools are closed. With a car, I would also argue, because you can get in some areas in a little bit of a traffic jam, or you just have to be behind bicycles, for example, that it would be more consistent using the bicycle. So if you really are into planning your being there on time, I would argue that the bicycle will probably be the most stable one. There's not much trains on this track, so this is quite a relaxing sort of road. But again, as far as I can see, this is not really that new. just passed an interesting bike. It was a two-seater side-by-side electric bike, if I see it correctly. So this bike ride going both directions fulfilled my bicycle needs for this Sunday, because I'm still trying to do 50 kilometers a day. I think in total this was 55 kilometers. Both ways. I think one way was 20. This recording I think was 27 kilometers. So this is clearly not, in my opinion, not a bicycle highway, but you can make up your own mind. We have to cross the road, the train tracks. And I think that part is being redone, or has been redone in different steps. So I know this because there are some signs, but also we see one part which is not done. So clearly they say the project is done, but there was one sign in the end, about the last 5 minutes, where we can see that we are basically in a wooden area, which was quite fun. By the way, it's not really good to see in the video, but it's actually quite a hilly area. So there's not the whole country is flat. So this we are going up and down. You can hear that on the bike. That I'm pushing more or less. It's difficult to see, but we are really going up and down. In the Netherlands we call this the Utrechtse Heuvelrug. So there are some more hilly areas around Utrecht. And you would notice them if it was quite windy this day, although it was mostly on my right back. But if these three combined, so a little bit hilly, raining and windy, then whatever people say that biking is easy in the Netherlands, don't be fooled by that. Even in summertime, that's why for now I would advise tourists to go. We get some. I actually stopped because there were horses stopping for the other horses, and I wanted to give them some space. It's always nice if we run into some horses. I forgot what I was talking about. But again, a weird sort of way to stop, because this is probably a recreation area, so they put some bullets and a pool there. Oh, there's actually quite a few so some horse thingy is going on. I missed that. But looking at the trailers, there's lots of horses around for some reason. I forgot what I was talking about. This happens quite often. So we are now entering Soest, which is, I think, the last village before we hit Amersfoort. And again, this is a good time to show you, but you can see, I think this part was already there. But then the next part, when we go clear next to the railroad, is probably new. Or newer, whatever. Kind of a weird crossing where the bicycles don't have priority. Again, you can see that on the road. You see that in front of us are these shark teeth. That defines that you have to yield. And we are leaving Soest again, quite quickly. And again, this sort of weird blockage. So maybe this before was also accessible to cars, question mark. I doubt it, but seems to be a bit too close to the train tracks, but I don't know. If you know more about this, let me know. But I was happy for the requests because I never recorded a video to me riding to Amersfoort, so we have done it now. You can see in the big one there's quite a wooded area. Basically only the train tracks are passing. So I'm pretty sure there was a bicycle path here before, but they probably just upgraded it. And I'm making this guess based on the last part where they are still have to do it. At least you can now see that it's indeed hilly. Because we're now going down again. Whee! You hear the wind, it was getting more. Actually, when I was going back, it was getting a little bit darker and more windy. But you can see on the leaves that it's getting quite windy. You can see even older people, no helmets in this case. But you can see how relaxed they are and how they, let's say, expect other people going towards them to be semi-careful. there's quite a lot of trust. I always find that, but maybe I'm stupid, but even in a car, if you're on a two directions path, if you keep in mind that you're going at each other sometimes at combined speed of, I don't know, 250 kilometers an hour, how much trust has to be involved, right? If one person makes a mistake, you have a head-on collision. And even here, if I would have swayed over now, it would be quite a thing. And there's a lot of trust going on, which you of course build up over time. We never think about this, but of course that's why the speed is so important, right? Because the trust is okay, but if you're going 50 kilometers an hour towards each other, is different than you going 20 kilometers an hour or 30. Are you in the middle of the road on the wrong side? I think I've actually braked, but he wanted to go to the left here. I think so. But you can see there's a sign here that they're building this, so clearly this is part of the project. I think there's a bicycle or motocross track over here. Probably BMX or... Yeah, it looks like BMX. That's also the fun for me watching these videos back. You can sort of get a feeling of what's in the neighborhood. But again, I think we are now going into the area. So this part has not been redone. And I think you can already see that they're putting shirts up and taking trees out to make this a better bicycle path. Of course, they have to take trees out, but that's the downside. But this is clearly not compatible with lots of commuter bicycle traffic. And more important, we don't see any lightning going on. So there's no lighting at all. So this will be quite dark if you are bicycling it in the morning. This will be pitch dark, and keep in mind quite a few people in the Netherlands don't have lights on their bicycle. So this bicycle I'm using now, that's partly why it's so expensive, has really good lights, even has multiple beams. But many people would not have bicycle lights on. In fact, my lights are always on, even when on this ride. But this is clearly not done yet. Somehow, this is also not more fun, but kind of enjoyable to ride when the people going next to you and just evading everybody. Whee! So the good news is we're coming into the 3D part of Amersfoort. So we can show you that, although this is totally a wooded area. I know that this part still has to be done because when I was riding back, at the exit of the woods, you'll see a sign that they are working on it. I think we're already here. Maybe not. Yeah, sorry. I think we are now nearing the exit. You can hear the gearing motor sort of going back and forth. It's an automatically shifting gearing system, so I don't have to change gears. And indeed, here's the exit, and you can see a sign there, and when I was going back, you can see that they're working on the bicycle path. Again, then we get into the Amersfoort itself, and at some point the video will stop a bit, or not the video, but because I did put the other part of the video behind it, but you will see I think the overlay stop. Probably. Maybe. So you're probably in the last 5 minutes or so. I'm not sure how long I kept recording. I will do a loop-the-loop next to the Amersfoort Central Station, and you can see some of the biking infrastructure. There's probably also a separate biking infrastructure, but I didn't want to miss out on that part because we were just missing the last minute. I think somewhere here we see a cut in the video where it cut out. I think in the overview we can already see Central Station sort of coming up. You see the train tracks going there. We'll probably leave the 3D view there. It will probably just stop and pause. So the good news is that Google Maps didn't crash for us today. They're swinging around the pole. Again, you notice that he was on his phone because he was swaying around, and I kind of already knew that you sort of have to get a sort of sixth sense for people on the phone, on bicycles, because I was even closer than I expected when the cut happened. You can see we are very close to the train station. It's bigger than the smaller train stations because Amersfoort is also not as big as Utrecht, by far. But it is kind of a switching point, so there are more tracks than you would expect. You see, I'm watching more and more on my clock because I already suspect that I will run out of battery. I think it probably cut out right here. Yeah, there it was. Good timing. You can see that I put a little bit of video behind it. Let me also make it big that you can see the VRC indeed at the Central Station. And I will just, which you see over here, I will just do a loop-the-loop and then we finish the video. This is Amersfoort Central Station. And we did a ride from Utrecht Central Station, or basically LeidscheRijn, to Amersfoort Central Station, and we took about an hour. Probably like, if I take the first part off, probably like 55 minutes would be, if you're going 24, 25 kilometers an hour. So this is the work that has been done on the inner city bicycle path, and I would call it okay-ish, but not perfect. Probably it's, like I said, maybe somebody comments will say this, but it was probably quite bad before, below average in some areas. So that's why they worked on it. I don't see too much special infrastructure here, but so I'm probably going to stop the video somewhere over here. I forgot when. Did I actually stop at some point? Or can I just decide randomly? No, I did stop. We have 1 more minute. I think I do a loop-the-loop in front of the central station. I'm not sure if this is all the bike parking. It's probably not, but it does give you sort of a Dutch feeling about all the bikes in a row. And we passed through about a third, I would say. Again, there might be other places around the central station where you have more bike parking. But you can see there are quite a lot of bikes here. Even on a Sunday, by the way. Sunday morning. Cabs. All cabs in the Netherlands have taxis have blue license plates. So I hope you enjoyed this video of the F28 bicycle highway, again air quotes. See you in the next video because I'm about to stop at this traffic light and stop the recording. So bye bye and see you next time.